This autumn, I went to stay with my grandmother in the countryside. The town was small, quiet, and full of yellow trees. Every morning, the fog moved slowly over the fields like a soft blanket, and everything felt still, like the world was taking a deep breath before winter. Her house is old, with wooden walls that creak when you walk, but it smells like apples and cinnamon. There's a little stove in the kitchen, and every evening she lights it, making the whole house feel warm, like a hug you didn't know you needed until it wraps around you. I sleep in a small room upstairs, where the window shows a big tree with golden leaves. Sometimes a bird comes to sit on the branch and look inside like it's checking on me. I wave, and it flies away, and I smile, feeling like I have a tiny morning friend. In the mornings, my grandmother wakes up early and makes tea. She puts a slice of apple in the cup and says, "This keeps the heart warm." I love watching the steam rise while we sit together, saying nothing, just looking out the window and listening to the wind move through the trees. After breakfast, I put on my boots and walk outside. The ground is soft and smells like leaves and earth. There's a little path behind the house that goes to the apple orchard. The trees are old and full of red apples, some already fallen, lying quietly on the ground. I take a basket and pick the best ones. Some are sweet, some a little sour, but all feel like autumn in my hands. When the basket is full, I go back and my grandmother says, "These will be pie by dinner." I laugh, and my heart feels full, like the basket. The air is cool, and I wear a big scarf that my grandmother made long ago. She says it's magic, and maybe it is because I never feel cold when I wear it. She also gives me warm socks and tells me stories about her childhood while we cook together. We don't use recipes. She just knows everything by heart. A little of this, a pinch of that. I mix the apples with sugar and cinnamon, and she rolls the dough slowly, like it's a soft song her hands remember. The kitchen smells like memories and sweet things. While the pie bakes, we sit at the table. I ask her about the old photo on the wall. Two girls in a field, smiling with their hair in the wind. "That's me and my sister," she says. "We were your age." Her voice is quiet, full of time and love and a little sadness too. But she smiles and says, "We had good autumns too." And then the oven beeps, and it's time for pie. We eat it warm, with tea and soft music on the radio. The world outside is gray and cold, but inside everything is golden and full of peace. Every day feels a little different here, even if I do the same things. In the morning, I help my grandmother bring wood from the shed. The wood smells strong, like the forest after rain. I carry a few pieces at a time, and she always says, "You're stronger than you think." Sometimes, after tea, I take my sketchbook and walk down the old path near the river. The river is slow in autumn. The water moves like it's dreaming. I sit on a rock, listen to the wind, and draw trees or birds. I don't draw well, but it makes me happy inside. One morning, I saw a fox. It was standing still near the trees, looking at me. We both didn't move for a few seconds, like we were trying to read each other's minds. Then it turned and walked away quietly. I didn't tell anyone. It felt like a secret just for me. The wind here is special. It tells stories when it moves through the dry cornfields. Sometimes it whistles like a song, and sometimes it sounds like whispers. I listen with closed eyes and imagine it's telling me old tales from the past. Inside the house, the clocks tick slowly. There's one in the hallway that chimes every hour. I wait for the sound sometimes, counting the soft ding-dong with my fingers. It reminds me that time is passing, but not in a rush, like it's walking calmly with us. On rainy days, we stay inside. My grandmother knits or reads an old book, and I sit by the window, watching the drops hit the glass. Sometimes I light a small candle and just watch it flicker. It feels like the room is breathing. Slow, soft, warm. We play cards in the evening. I never win, but she smiles when I try hard. She laughs softly and says, "It's not about winning, it's about sitting together." And I think she's right. The soft light, the tea, the quiet music, they all feel like little gifts. At night, the stars shine so bright here. No streetlights, no cars, just the sound of crickets and owls. I like to stand at the door with a blanket around me, looking up. Sometimes I make a wish, not a big one, just something small and kind, like peace for someone. The days are slow, but not boring. Every moment feels full of small things, smells, sounds, smiles. And every evening, when I write in my notebook, I don't write much, just 1 or 2 lines. But they hold everything. Today was soft. Today was good. One afternoon, I followed the cat. Yes, the neighbor's cat, the one with the white paws and serious eyes. He walked like he knew exactly where he was going. So I followed, slowly and quietly. He didn't look back. We went past the garden, around the shed, and into the orchard. There, behind the old apple trees, I saw something I hadn't noticed before. A tiny bench, almost hidden under leaves. It was made of wood with green moss growing on the legs. I sat down, and it felt like sitting inside a storybook. Quiet, still, a little magical. Later, I told Grandma, and she said, "That bench, I used to sit there as a girl." She smiled with her eyes far away. "I wrote my first poem there." I looked at her hands, now older and gentle, and thought how many stories they must remember. In the kitchen, the smells change every day. Sometimes it's cinnamon, sometimes soup with dill. The windows fog up, and I draw little faces or stars with my finger. Grandma always laughs when she sees them. "You never stop dreaming," she says. We baked an apple pie together. I helped cut the apples, and she added some special spice from a jar with no label. "What is that?" I asked. She smiled. "Secret ingredient." I think it was love, the kind that tastes like autumn and warm hugs. After dinner, we sat with the lights low. She told me a story about her childhood. I listened with big eyes. She said, "Sometimes we had no sugar, but we had each other." That made me think. Maybe simple things are the sweetest. There's an old photo album in the living room. I look at it sometimes when the fire is low. Faces I don't know, but some look like me. I touch the photos gently, like they could feel it, and I wonder what stories they'd tell if they could speak. One evening, it started to rain hard. The sound on the roof was loud, but it felt safe. Grandma made hot cocoa. We wrapped ourselves in blankets and listened to the storm. The thunder came like a drum in the sky, and we just sat, warm, quiet, together. Sometimes we don't need to talk. Just being near someone kind is enough. Even the silence feels soft when your heart is full. And here, in this house full of time and tea, I think I'm learning how to listen better, to the world, to others, and to myself. The next morning, the sky was gray, and the wind made the trees dance slowly. I stayed in bed a little longer, listening to the soft rustling of the leaves outside the window. It felt like the house was wrapped in a warm scarf. After breakfast, I opened a drawer in the hallway. Inside, I found old keys, big, rusty, and heavy. Each one looked different. I asked Grandma, "What are these for?" She smiled. "They open doors that don't exist anymore, or maybe they still do." That made me curious. So I walked around the house, holding one key in my hand, trying it on every lock I could find. Nothing clicked, but it felt like a game, like I was a small detective in a quiet mystery. Later, I sat in the garden. The air smelled like wet leaves and apples. A bird landed near me and tilted its head, watching me like it had a secret. I whispered, "What do you know?" But of course, the bird didn't answer. Still, I smiled. In the afternoon, Grandma gave me a wool sweater. "It was mine when I was your age," she said. I put it on, and it was soft and warm, like wearing a hug from the past. There was a small hole near the sleeve, but I liked it. It felt real. We made soup that evening. I cut the carrots. She added herbs. We didn't talk much, just worked together with the radio playing quietly. There was something peaceful in that silence, like two hearts beating in the same slow rhythm. After dinner, I went outside for a walk. The streetlights made long shadows on the road. I looked up at the sky, no stars, just soft clouds moving like thoughts. I felt small, but not in a bad way. More like part of something gentle and wide. When I came back, Grandma was knitting. She didn't look up, just said, "The wind is getting stronger. Might be a storm tonight." Her voice was calm, like she had lived through many storms and always found the sun after. I made tea and sat beside her. The needles clicked softly. I watched her hands move and thought, maybe hands remember more than minds. All the things they've done, all the people they've touched. I looked at my hands and wondered what stories they would carry someday. The next morning, I felt the end of my visit getting closer. I didn't say it out loud, but I knew. Soon I would have to return home, so I decided to enjoy every little thing more slowly than usual. I helped Grandma make apple pie. She showed me how to mix the cinnamon, sugar, and thin apple slices just right. The kitchen smelled like a soft dream, sweet and warm and full of old memories I didn't even live through. While the pie baked, I sat near the window with a book I found in the attic. Inside was a name I didn't know. Maybe it was Grandma's sister or a friend from long ago. I felt like the pages were whispering their own quiet story. After lunch, I walked through the garden again. The trees had fewer leaves now. Some branches were almost bare, but still strong. I touched the bark and whispered thank you, not just to the tree, but to the world for this moment. That evening, Grandma gave me a little box. "For your journey," she said. Inside was a photo of us from years ago, 2 cookies wrapped in paper, and a small stone shaped like a heart. I almost cried, but just hugged her instead. We didn't talk much that night, just sat on the sofa under one blanket, sipping tea and watching the shadows move across the ceiling. It felt like the end of a quiet movie, the kind that stays in your heart forever. Before bed, I wrote in my notebook. I wrote about the pie, the old keys, the bird in the garden, and the way Grandma's sweater smelled like soft wind and home. I didn't want to forget anything, not even the silence. That night, I had a dream. I was walking down a golden path lined with trees, and every leaf whispered a kind word, words like safe, loved, and ready. I woke up smiling, with my heart full and my mind quiet. In the morning, I packed my bags slowly. Grandma kissed my forehead. "Don't forget," she said, "you are always welcome here." I smiled, holding back tears, and said, "I know." And I really did. On the train ride home, I watched the trees pass by the window. They waved goodbye with yellow and orange hands. I thought of Grandma, of the pie, of the keys and the stories, and I whispered, "Thank you, Autumn." When I got back home, the air felt different. The city was louder, faster, but my heart was still slow and soft, like it was walking through Grandma's garden. I opened the windows and let the wind in, hoping it would carry the peace with it. My cat looked at me like I had been gone for years. She rubbed her face on my hand, and I told her everything. Not with words, but with tea, soft lights, and quiet hugs. She understood. Animals often do. I unpacked slowly, placing the little stone from Grandma next to my books. I looked at the cookies she gave me, but decided to keep them for one more day, like a small secret waiting to be shared with myself again. Outside, the trees in the park were also losing their leaves, just like at Grandma's. But here, the wind felt different, not wild, not gentle, just busy. People walked fast, phones rang, but I walked slowly, listening to the sounds between the sounds. At the corner cafe, the same old man sat by the window reading his newspaper. I smiled. He didn't see me, but that was okay. Just knowing some things don't change made me feel safe in the middle of all the noise. When I got home, I made tea and sat on the floor, just because. I looked around my room and saw everything with new eyes. Nothing had changed, but I felt different, like autumn had painted something soft inside me. That night, I made a list of things I wanted to do this season. Not big goals, just small joys. Light a candle every evening, call a friend on Sunday, write one kind sentence each day, take a photo of something beautiful once a week. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but I felt ready for it. Not in a big, loud way, but in the quiet way that starts with deep breath and a smile before sleep. Last weekend, I invited 2 friends to my place. Nothing big, just tea, cookies, and cozy stories. Jack, my quiet roommate, said he would stay in his room with Bob, the cactus. But I knew he would listen through the door. He always does that. My cat sat on the windowsill, watching the preparations like a tiny supervisor. I asked him, "Do you like guests?" He blinked slowly. I took it as a yes. I lit a candle, made cinnamon tea, and put out a soft blanket on the couch. It felt like we were getting ready for a quiet adventure. When my friends arrived, we all smiled and hugged. The apartment smelled like cookies and hope. We didn't have a plan. We just sat in a circle, held our warm mugs, and started talking about random things. That's when the magic usually begins. One friend told a story about losing her keys and finding them in the fridge. We laughed so hard, my cat jumped. He looked offended. I said, "Sorry, sir." He flicked his tail like a grumpy prince. Jack sneezed behind his door. "Bless you," we all shouted. Then it was my turn. I told them about the red box and the bell. My friends were wide-eyed. "That cactus is mysterious," one whispered. "Bob, Bob," I laughed. "He's a whole mystery novel with roots." We all looked toward Jack's door. Silence. Then someone knocked. We all froze. It wasn't Jack. He was still inside. My cat jumped off the windowsill. His ears were alert. I opened the door slowly. No one. Just a small envelope on the floor. No name, no address, just a tiny flower sticker. We took it inside and opened it together. Inside was a note. "I heard your stories. Let me tell you mine. Meet me in the park at noon. Look for the red scarf." We all stared at each other. Was this real or just someone playing with us? Jack peeked from his door, holding Bob like a baby. "I think Bob wants to go," he said. We all laughed. Even my cat purred. It seemed like this story was just getting started. The next morning, I packed cookies, tea in a thermos, and a notebook. My friends and I met at the park gate at 11:50. Jack came too. He wore his quiet sweater and carried Bob in a little bag. "He doesn't like being alone," he said. I didn't argue. Bob was part of the group now. The sun was soft, and the wind was gentle. My cat didn't come too fancy for outdoor mystery, I guess. We walked through the park, eyes searching. People passed by with dogs, bikes, balloons, but no red scarf. At noon, exactly, we saw her, a woman sitting alone on a bench under a tree. Her scarf was bright red, like a flag. She smiled when she saw us. "You came," she said, her voice like music in a cafe. "You got my note." We nodded. I felt both excited and a little shy. Jack stood very still. Bob peeked out of the bag. The woman patted the seat beside her. "Come, sit. I have a story." We all sat. She pulled a photo from her coat. It showed a small apartment with a cactus in the window. "I used to live where you live," she said. "A long time ago. That's Bob. I left him behind. I hope someone kind would take care of him." Jack blinked. "Bob," he whispered. The woman nodded. "He's older than he looks, and he listens. If you talk to him, sometimes he answers." We all stared at the cactus. It looked extra green in the light. She smiled. I left the red box too. I wanted the next person to find joy, stories, maybe a little magic. I felt like someone had opened a door in my heart. A door I didn't know was there. Then she stood. "My name doesn't matter," she said, "but thank you for listening, for keeping the story going." She waved goodbye and walked away, her red scarf floating behind her like a dream. We sat in silence. Then Jack said, "Bob is definitely magical." My friend added, "And your apartment is like a mystery book with snacks." I wrote that down. It felt true. That evening, we returned home. The apartment felt warmer, like the walls had heard everything and liked it. My cat jumped into my lap and purred loudly. Even he felt the change. That night, rain tapped gently on the windows. I lit a candle, made tea, and opened my notebook to write about the woman in the red scarf. But when I opened it, a small folded note fell out. I didn't put it there. My heart did a quiet little dance. The note said, "One more surprise. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. library. Ask for the blue book." I looked at the note, then at my cat. He blinked slowly, like he knew something. Then he sneezed. A clear sign of mystery, if you ask me. I knocked on Jack's door. He opened it, holding Bob and a spoon of peanut butter. "Emergency?" he asked. I held up the note. "Adventure," I said. He smiled. "The best kind." His cat, Mr. Whiskers, sat nearby, clearly unimpressed. The next day, the sky was gray and soft, like a cozy sweater. I wore my favorite scarf, the one with stars. My cat jumped into the windowsill and gave me a look, the kind that says, "Don't do anything ridiculous." I gave him a wink and left anyway. At the library, the smell of paper and quiet dreams filled the air. I walked to the desk and asked, "Do you have the blue book?" The librarian didn't blink. She reached behind the counter and handed me a book with a silver moon on the cover. Inside was a folded map. I looked around. No one was watching. I opened it carefully. It had little red dots and an arrow pointing to a bench in the reading room. I followed it slowly, like I was walking inside a story. The bench was empty, except for a small package. It was wrapped in brown paper, tied with green string. A little card said, "Open with friends." I smiled. This was too good to keep to myself. That evening, I invited Jack and my two best friends over. We sat on the floor with tea and opened the package together. Inside, a tiny music box, a feather, and a photo of Bob wearing sunglasses. We laughed until our stomachs hurt. Jack held up the feather. "Is this from a magical bird?" my friend said. "Maybe from the bakery cat's secret pet owl." I wrote it all down just in case. Bob just stood on the table looking proud. Mr. Whiskers tried to sit in the box. We didn't solve the mystery that night, but we created a dozen new ones, and honestly, that was even better. That night, we couldn't stop talking about the photo of Bob in sunglasses. "Who took that photo?" I asked. Jack said, "Bob is very photogenic." Bob sneezed. Mr. Whiskers rolled his eyes. My cat jumped on the table and gently tapped the photo, like saying, "This isn't over." Later, as everyone was leaving, Jack whispered, "Let's follow the map." I nodded. My friends looked at each other, smiled, and put on their jackets. The air outside smelled like wet leaves and cinnamon. We walked quietly through the sleepy town, our steps soft on the pavement. The map led us past the bakery, past the little park, all the way to the edge of town where a low stone wall stood. I'd passed it before, but never noticed the carvings on it. In the candlelight Jack brought, we saw shaped stars, a teacup, a cat, a tiny bench. Suddenly, we heard a faint sound, tap, 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 like someone was knocking gently from the other side of the wall. "Maybe it's Bob's fan club," whispered my friend, Jack said, "or a squirrel with a message." We all held our breath and listened again. I put my ear against the wall. Nothing. Then, a whisper so soft I thought it was the wind. It said, "Thank you for listening." My eyes widened. "Did you hear that?" I asked. Jack nodded slowly. "We're part of something now," he said. Something gentle and strange. My cat looked up at the moon and meowed like he approved. Mr. Whiskers yawned. Bob blinked once and licked Jack's finger. We sat on the grass in front of the wall for a long time, not saying much, just feeling the quiet magic settle around us like a blanket. When we got home, I made hot chocolate for everyone. Jack lit a candle, and we played the music box again. Its tune was soft and warm. "This," I said, "is the best kind of mystery, the kind that brings people together." Bob sat on the bookshelf like a tiny green guardian. Mr. Whiskers finally curled up next to him. My cat purred loudly, then walked across my keyboard, probably typing the next clue. I laughed. "Okay," I said, "we're ready for the next chapter."